My name is Nickel, Nickel, and today we have James here bringing you an episode from the Weird Glitches series. If you guys would like to see more stuff like this in the future, let us know down below in the comments. But for now, I'll pass it off to him.
We back. What up, guys? James here, and in today's video, we're going to be throwing it back to some of Overwatch's most classic glitches. While these may have been long since patched out, it's always fun and oftentimes hilarious to see a more unhinged side of Overwatch. And before we dive in, if you haven't already done so, rocket punch that bell icon so you don't miss out on future videos, and definitely follow Nickel on Facebook for daily live streams. With that said, let's get right into the video. While Overwatch is full of Blizzard's typical level of polish, no game is without its bugs and glitches. Whether it's a way to leave the map or hide in plain sight, Overwatch is full of ways to break the game. With a game this big and with this many variables, it'd be nearly impossible to QA test every single scenario before launch. This only gets worse when you add things like new heroes, maps, and game modes. However, as with any game, many of these glitches were only in-game for a short while before being patched out, but they're still fun to look back on. Also, if any of these glitches still exist in Overwatch, they'll probably result in a ban, so I don't recommend you try them at home, even if they are pretty hilarious. So without further ado, let's check out some of these glitches. So the first glitch is a method for Tracer to hide herself within the payload. Clearly a huge advantage in a match, especially because the Tracer only took damage from her feet, meaning that even if the opposite team did find Tracer, it'd be hard to flush her out. This would mean having to crouch around awkwardly around the payload and then pretty much just pew her feet. So to execute this glitch, the player would stand in front of the payload, blink away, and then wait for the payload to move. When it did, hit recall back to the original spot, and instead of being pushed in front of the payload, the model would then clip inside of it. All the player had to do then would be to crouch to hide their head, and they'd be almost completely hidden. As you can imagine, this was swiftly patched out as it was pretty game-breaking. Tracer in the payload is one of the oldest glitches in the game and even predates the addition of competitive. It's likely that one of the reasons Blizzard held off on releasing competitive mode is so they could get the game into the hands of players, and those players could then discover and expose these kinds of glitches. This would be a better alternative to rushing the release of competitive whilst the game was still in an early bug-filled state. Our second glitch is one that was found in the game shortly after the addition of the map Eco Point Antarctica. This glitch essentially made Diva unplayable, as when it came time for the player to eject from their mech, doing so under a low roof, such as in the base or in the lab, would cause Diva to be projectile hilariously out of the map into the nothingness, where she was doomed to float until she died. This is a classic example of a glitch that occurs because the sheer volume of characters and scenarios to test for with each new map. With that many variables in play, things are bound to slip through the cracks. Although, you'd think something pretty key to a character's functionality, like Diva ejecting from her mech, would have been caught in QA. Thankfully though, due to the speed at which the glitch was exposed, Blizzard had a hotfix for the glitch within days of its discovery. This isn't actually the only glitch that Eco Point Antarctica caused near its launch. You may, no pun intended, remember a pretty widespread May glitch that caused a lot of issues with the 3v3 mode. For more on that, you could check out our video on that glitch here. So it wouldn't be a glitch list without everyone's favorite hacker, Sombra. So if you've ever played one of those claw machines at the arcade, there was probably a point where you thought you could be sneaky and try to reach your hand up the chute to grab a prize. It's all good, we've all been there. But what if you had the ability to teleport inside the machine?
Would you?
Well, that's exactly what Sombra could do when you pull off this glitch. The way this glitch works is when the translocator falls into an area of the map that is too small for the player to fit in, when they teleport, they'll actually be thrust inside the area, in this case, the claw machine. This also works for objects like the deli counter in Numbani or the vending machines. This glitch isn't super useful because once you're inside the object, there isn't really any way to get out. But it's a fun way to hide in plain sight, or at least it was before it was patched out of the game. Sombra's translocator has caused plenty of issues since its inclusion in the game. Due to the nature of the ability, it has a weird habit of getting caught under the geometry of the map and launching in Sombra into places she shouldn't be. Check out this clip of Sombra glitching into the enemy spawn on Lijiang Tower. Most of these glitches have been patched out, but with every new map, you can expect a new secret crevice for Sombra to find her way inside of.
Miss me?
One of the biggest changes to the game last year was the inclusion of the Uprising event, a PvE game mode that allowed players to play through the events of the Omnic Uprising as the first incarnation of Overwatch. This game mode took place on a modified version of King's Row and tasked the players to defend the payload, then escort it to the end of the map. The game mode offered different difficulty settings that affected the possible score that could be earned. However, if you were looking for an easy way to get a high score on Legendary, this glitch made it incredibly simple. The way this glitch works is once a fight is in the escort the payload phase, one player had to stand in front of the next checkpoint door. That's basically it. This would cause the game to stop spawning enemies, allowing the team to practically do nothing for a large portion of the mission. In hindsight, this glitch was probably less harmful than the others since it's only PvE, but nevertheless, it was removed shortly after discovery. When Blizzard debuts its next seasonal event, you can be sure people will be quick to find out which glitches make it easier for them to get those sweet, sweet loot boxes. Ever since Doomfist made his way into the game, Blizzard has been in a constant struggle to not only balance Doomfist's unconventional offense, but also just straight up keep this man inside the map altogether. Due to Doomfist's ultimate launching players out of the map for a short period of time, colliding with certain areas of several maps would cause players to end up outside the map. Even maps as recent as Blizzard World are full of sections that can be easily glitched out of. Some of these glitches can only be really done in custom games, where you can have ability cooldowns at a minimum, but as you could see from the clips, the range of movement and ability to gain so much height makes Doomfist incredibly difficult to contain. Another Doomfist-related glitch that was found early in his inclusion was his ability to gain an absurd amount of momentum from certain pieces of geometry on several maps. The way this would work is on areas of the map that are slanted or sloped in such a way that a character would slide down. For example, an area that doesn't allow Pharah's jetpack to recharge because it doesn't count as solid ground. When Doomfist would charge at these areas, the momentum would pretty much treat the geometry like a ramp, thus catapulting Doomfist into the air, creating some of the most insane flanks and making it simple to traverse the map in seconds. Pulling this off was difficult and inconsistent, so it's not the most game-breaking of glitches, but that didn't stop Blizzard cracking down on it on several maps. Much like Sombra, due to the nature of Doomfist and the sheer amount of time it would take to test every single different piece of terrain, you can expect more of these to pop up again and again as more maps are released. So maybe Blizzard will focus on making future heroes slightly less agile so these problems don't multiply themselves. With that said, we did just get Brigitte, who as Nickel displayed in a previous video, could catapult herself into the air using her shield bash.
It has to do with this little box right here and being able to use your shield bash to get enough clearance to get to the other side here. So I will mess up, I'll keep doing it a few times, hopefully we can get it in this video. But you have to go up to the box. It kind of reminds me of like the Genji edge dash from a while back. Oh my god, the first try! Yes! So if you hit that little box, it's just the right edge, and you jump, and you do your shield, and you do your dash at the same time, you can actually get air like that to an area that you shouldn't really be able to go to. There we go! Get that Brigitte air.
So, on the other hand, part of me believes that Blizzard just secretly loves creating abilities that allow for some totally gnarly hang time, bruh. But with that said, that pretty much wraps up this list of 5 of Overwatch's most classic glitches. As we said at the start of the video, do not try these. Most of them have already been patched out, but yo, for real, it's not really worth risking your Battle.net account over something like this. With that said, what glitches have you encountered in the game, and do they still work or have they been patched out? Also, what do you think of Blizzard's response time when it comes to these glitches? With comp being one of Overwatch's most prominent modes, do you think some of these glitches overstay their welcome in the game mode for too long? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And since we're on the topic of top 5s, why not check out another one of our Overwatch top 5 lists while you're here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.